Check. Hey everyone, how you doing? So this isn't really a panel. This is more of a interactive discussion with you guys around innovation. So we're not just going to be feeding information. We really want you to participate in the discussions of different categories of innovation as we go through it. So Music 2020, the next era of innovation in the music industry is our presentation. My name is Dave Hogan. I am the CEO and co-founder of Tune Registry. I'm also the lecturer. I teach the music industry entrepreneurship and innovation course at UCLA. I'm also a former innovation fellow at the UCLA Center for Music Innovation. I work with a number of music tech startups. I've founded a number of music tech startups. So innovation is kind of my space.
I'm Scott Cohen. I'm Scott Cohen. I co-founded a company called The Orchard with Richard Goddard, who's in the last seat, and he's going to sneak out in 30 minutes because he's got to get a big award tonight at the dinner. Congratulations, Richard. And I recently retired from The Orchard at the end of January, and at the beginning of February, I started at the Warner Music Group as the Chief Innovation Officer. And we just met a few minutes ago, and we're going to do a presentation together.
Yes. So think of us more as hosts for a very large roundtable discussion. Again, I do want you to think of this as more of an interactive, engaged participation. So if you have comments, this isn't just if you have a Q&A, ask us questions, we're going to feed you a response. But if you have comments to add to the conversation, raise your hand and tell us about your experience around the topics we're talking about. So this isn't a panel, this is a discussion. First thing, get out your phones. Probably the only panel will tell you to get out your phones.
It was funny that you actually had to do it. Most of you usually have them already out.
Yeah.
But I did clock which one of you had to actually reach in and get it.
So we're going to start with a quick poll. So go to meet.ps/musicbiz2019. And let's see if I can actually pull up. So you're going to see a poll. Can you respond to it? And I'm going to see if I can pull up the answers here so we can all see what that is. Okay, cool. Should have had this already open. All right, so let's go ahead and all right, music creators are coming in, lots of others.
I can't believe this worked.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in technology a long time. It always surprises me when it works.
I actually discovered this startup 20 minutes ago and built this poll in the 20 minutes in the green room. So who are the others? Students. Okay, students are strong in here, okay. And then music creators, and some of you are students as well, technologists, software developers. No lawyers, I'm surprised, no. All right, they're normally at the end of innovation when they're just litigating it. So we have a good representation of creators, music creators, technologists, students, marketers, strategists, and so forth. Great. So I'm happy that actually worked because we did just come up with that. So what is innovation? Students, one of you want to give me a definition of innovation, your idea of innovation, your definition of innovation?
Do you want a microphone?
Yeah, where's our mic, folks?
Hold on. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
Other.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jimmy. Thanks for putting this together. I think Spotify is a great example of innovation in music because they're kind of like creating the new music industry right now. Those are my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. One more.
I'm just going to sit down.
Sure, that's fine.
I would say innovation is using your skills to make a career for yourself or some type of opportunity that will not only benefit you but benefit others.
Thank you. For those who just joined us, this is an interactive discussion, not a panel. So I'm going to be asking questions of the audience or asking you to add comments or participate. So when I talk about innovation to my students, when I think about innovation as an entrepreneur who've built a number of tech startups, I think about innovation and its relationship to disruption and innovation, or invention. And some people you ask about innovation, they might use the terms disruption or invention. So I want to sort of demystify invention, disruption, and innovation the way I perceive it in terms of how I operate. So, invention. The first telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell in 1876. This is the first time there was a creation of a new concept of how we communicate. Then the first cell phone was introduced in 1973 by Martin Cooper of Motorola. This is not necessarily a new concept of communication, but rather a shift of how society interacted around communication, right? With the telephone, you have to be at home, you have to be next to it. With the cell phone, you can be mobile. So now we've changed the way consumers behave around a product. We didn't create a new experience necessarily in terms of inventing a new idea, but rather we've shifted the way society interacts around that idea. And then the first smartphone was IBM Simon, not the iPhone, and went on sale to the public in 1994. So this is still mobile, so we're still changing the consumer or society's behavior around a product or an idea, but now we've made that behavior or that experience even better, right? So this is invention, disruption, and innovation. And that's sort of the way that I think of it as an entrepreneur.
Oh, by the way, then I think your Spotify example nailed it.
Yes.
It's not the first way people sold music or consumed music.
Yeah, actually, would you consider Spotify disruption or innovation? Disruption?
See, I think the digital download 90s was the disruption and Spotify the innovation.
Yeah, I think I agree. And obviously, it depends on how long you've been in the music industry to be able to. I mean, you had before iTunes, there were other online stores and other ways to get MP3s and so forth.
Napster.
Yeah, online stores, free stores. So this is how I look at innovation, right? So innovation is iterative. It's continuing to improve on a solution. Innovation should offer better solutions. And innovation should create better experiences. And generally, for those of you, how many have iPhones and generally get the latest version of iPhone? Do you feel that the latest version is a better experience than the previous version? Or do you feel that there's some learning curve when you get the new product? But ultimately, you feel like you kind of flatten out or stabilize in terms of your experience with it, and ultimately you feel like it's a better experience.
Now it's terrible? Oh, yeah.
All right, so the idea is that this is an iterative process. You get that feedback that you might report to Apple, they should be able to use that feedback to improve the next version, right? Every time you come out with something new and you're iterating on it, you should take feedback from moving forward. So I want to talk to Scott a little bit about what you guys are doing at Warner in innovation. I mean, your role is the Chief Innovation Officer, so you should be leading that charge.
I should be leading the charge. I'm not. I'm following the charge. They already started charging before I joined. They set up the Boost Fund, which invests in startups. I think it's up to $1 million, up to $500,000 in technologies around music business. So we're trying to foster more of that, as well as, I don't know if you guys know Techstars. Techstars for Music, so we're also part of Techstars for Music. And then in addition to that, there's teams of people in London, New York, and the West Coast that their whole job is, one of them sitting there, Alex, to just hunt down all the cool new technologies and either invest in them or acquire them. And there's no bottom level and there's no top level. I mean, it can be buying something for hundreds of millions or putting $1 million or $500K into something, but all around music technology.
What are you guys seeing out there in the marketplace or in the industry around innovation and around investing into innovation? So everyone comes from different markets, different parts of the country. What's happening in your local communities? What's happening in innovation in the music industry in your local communities?
I think not in the local communities, but actually just coming here and trying some of the beta products at the Future Experience. When I took a recording class at Temple about 6 months ago, we had an open discussion about the new practices of 360 music and how that'll impact virtual reality in the future. And just seeing some of the beta products, it's really exciting to see where that next step is going to go to, especially with other products like Pokemon Go kind of bringing that whole new, I guess, realm of technology to us.
For those of you who've been in the music industry for some time, do you feel that, and you've seen innovation over decades, right? It may not have been technology, just only technology innovation, maybe innovation in deal making, maybe innovation in A&R, maybe innovation in operations. Do you feel that there's a sense of excitement around, for the more vets in the industry? Or do you feel that some people are jaded because they've seen it all or they've heard it all, and all this new innovation, what these kids are like, and doesn't make sense? Or like, where do you sit? I mean, obviously you're at a music industry conference, so generally, we're ahead of the, I think the sentiment in terms of being jaded. But there's some people in the music industry, I've experienced it representing startups, going to labels and publishers, licensing startups. I represent a company called Amanotes out of Vietnam, which has 250 million downloads of their game apps. I have a company called Repulse Exchange out of London, which has 160,000 artists collaborating to promote their music on SoundCloud. But I see resistance sometimes when I go in with other young founders to, certain companies in regards to supporting these new innovations. So I'm looking towards the back because we kind of have this aggregation of vets in the back and a bunch of students up here. What are your thoughts, and how do you, you see innovation? Is it moving faster? How do you respond to it?
Well, I think those are good questions. Are the labels and the rights holders resistant to it, or are they open to change? Are they experimenting? Are they engaging with all the new companies? I think you could open it up also to innovation around the music itself. Did anyone see the Netflix show Quincy? It's about, yeah, that was awesome, right? I learned more about him. It's 3 parts. I highly recommend it. But even in that, he talks about the same 12 notes and how many ways can we just reorder the same 12 notes, or are we done now? Are we done? Have we kind of mapped it every possible way? Is it boring?
For me, I've been in the business, I guess, full time for about 30 years. Come from the Nashville, which is really traditionally in the country markets, it's a top-down marketing model. The country music model, to me, traditionally been almost a pop version of marketing through radio, through major terrestrial, through just major, I guess, top-down marketing. And in Nashville, it's what I see. I'm excited because I kind of grew up through that model, and I'm in management now. After worked for Universal was my last job, I guess, industry job. And in management, it's incredible now because we build artists off of touring. I mean, all this innovation has been great, but it's more peripheral to what we can do now. We don't have to go through a major company to build a great business. the great thing is streaming has been a large part of our business. All of the peripheral things with the social media, we don't like build it off of social media. We don't build it off of streaming. We still build it by just old school touring, very focused touring. And the streams come and the numbers come. And that for us is exciting because we can now, tour. We tour nationwide. And before, the distribution kept us from really reaching out, but so far, very slowly through regional touring. But now we tour the West Coast. We've now got a major, Warner is the artist that I work with that we just partnered with. And we're able to go around tour the country now because they've had the barriers to entry for hearing his music is so low. So for us, it's exciting on a management level to where we can build our own great business and then partner with a record label instead of, the way it's been, at least from my view, over the last few years. So
I appreciate that. And I've seen a lot of changes in the last few years. I work as a mentor for the G-Beta Music Tech Accelerator, which is Capitol Music Group's program in Hollywood under a platform they call Capital 360, which is sort of their innovation hub for investments and incubating startups and ideas. So, what Warner's doing with WMG Boost, what Capital's doing with Capital 360, what creators and entrepreneurs are bringing to market or testing or trying to bring to market, all of that is kind of coming together to create this movement of not only just innovation from an experiential standpoint, but really a business model.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, if you think back what the music industry looked like 20 years ago, there were, which in some ways seems like a long time ago, but in many ways wasn't. I mean, there were 4 ways to market and promote: radio, press, television, touring. And there was one way, essentially, one main way to make money, which was selling units of CDs. And then when we look at what today's landscape looks like, and it looks nothing like that. It is so diverse. I mean, in many ways, people think that the music industry are behind the times, but we're leading the charge. We are so diversified in how we market, promote, and it's not the same for everyone. So it's an artist like that can tour, but then they make it up with things like social media and streaming business, and other people don't do any of that and do it another way. And it's way more exciting to have this diverse ecosystem than the one-way traffic, everything's the same.
Right.
Truly, it was the same for everyone.
So developing innovation in the music industry, like what are some of the new technologies that we're seeing? Obviously, there's some demos of products and services. So in this section, we're going to really talk about different kind of areas of innovation, and I want to hear from the audience what you're seeing in the marketplace, maybe what you've experienced, or what you're working on in the marketplace. So we'll start with augmented reality. Is everyone familiar? Is anyone not familiar with augmented reality? Does anyone want to take a shot at explaining augmented reality? Is anyone working on any augmented reality projects?
Has anyone tried Pokemon Go? Who's tried Pokemon Go? That's AR. Who hasn't? Fucking hell, man. How did you miss it? It's so much fun. All right, I guarantee you in a room this size, you would even find one. Try it. Well, for sure. It will give you, it's the best example to date of augmented reality, of taking virtual objects, placing them in the real world, putting an information layer in the real world. It's fun and cool, and the music industry has lagged way behind on this one, I think.
Yeah, something I saw last year at Indie Week in New York. There's a small startup again that was, they just started testing with some labels, creating these virtual music video experiences, which I think is really cool, using Snapchat filters. So you can use the filter and you would see some door out in a particular landmark in New York, and you walk through this door and on your phone, you're now on the set of this virtual music video with a particular artist. And they rendered out the music video in this virtual environment, which I thought was a really cool way of not only engaging fans with content for the artist, but creating this sort of experiential, live experience without the cost of executing this throughout all over New York, right? The licenses and the permits and all that kind of stuff. You just you see a bus stop and you see a door on the bus stop, and that door leads you into a music video set. Any examples of augmented reality that you've seen that you think is interesting?
Well, there's another example. I know Disney World is actually taking full advantage of it. They have a little game where I think you're given cards at certain areas, and you kind of swipe a key card, and what looked like just a regular window in one of the shops will turn into a TV screen, and you have to battle almost like Pokemon or Pokemon Go, but you collect different Disney characters in that same sense, and then kind of build your status in that way.
And then back there.
T-shirts. Now you put your phone up to a logo on a T-shirt and it comes to life. I think that's going to be pretty amazing for merchandise.
There's been a lot of innovation in merchandise. Back in 2008 through 2012, I was a VP of marketing and music of a retail chain called Chic Shoes, which is a West Coast chain, has 150 stores. And there was a startup that was putting these little QR codes on T-shirts and other type of merch, and came to us as a retailer to potentially sell this stuff. But what they did was they worked with Nielsen SoundScan to make it so that the purchase of that T-shirt was actually a scan of purchasing music, because you got music with the shirt. And
So
that
you're
was
saying
really interesting.
they're
Yeah.
gaming the charts. And that's never happened.
It was actually, you bought the shirt, it came with music, and it was an actual scan that Nielsen SoundScan accepted. And I thought it was really interesting. It was, interesting way for consumers to be able to get the music and also get the merch all bundled in one. Virtual reality. Any interesting virtual reality experiences you've seen or you're a part of, you're working on? One thing I saw at South by Southwest a couple years ago was a VR experience where we're actually on a roller coaster, which I thought was really interesting. But there was also this hydraulic seat that you're sitting on, and you actually felt like you're on the roller coaster. You actually had the same emotional and physical reactions, even though you were sitting on the floor.
Has anyone who's tried VR goggles?
Wow.
More than played Pokemon Go. Well done. My personal feeling, because we're not being recorded, is most of it's been pretty shit so far. Sorry. And for virtual reality, I mean, the headsets aren't great yet. I was able to demo what's going to be the next generation of the Oculus Rift, which is way better and a fully standalone device, which I quite liked. But the problem is the content in music. Virtual reality, the key is in the word virtual, not reality. I don't want to see a gig in VR. If I want to see a gig, I'll go to a gig. I want to have an experience that I can't have in real life when I put those on. This is what music used to do, take people on a journey. Back in the 60s, maybe they would smoke a joint or drop acid and listen to Pink Floyd. I want that experience with a virtual headset to hear music and go on a journey and blow my mind. Right now, nothing I've seen around music in VR has blown my mind and made me want to go back and do the same thing again.
Well, I definitely think, and I would like to hear from your experience, I think there's been some really interesting executions of VR. I put on one, I was at the IMF Con in San Diego a couple years ago, and I was on the Tomorrowland stage, right next to the DJ. And I was able to turn around and see the crowd, and that felt really interesting, right? Something I would have never seen, because I wouldn't have been backstage or on stage with the DJ. So I thought that was a cool experience. I don't think it blew my mind, but I
well,
did
that's-
think it was an interesting
Well,
experience.
this is the problem with VR. It's like chicken and the egg. So no one wants to invest in the content because they haven't deployed enough headsets. But there's no real reason that anyone needs one around music because there's not great content. Allison and I were talking about it at lunch today, and it was like people started making amazing videos in the 80s, and all of a sudden everyone said, I want my MTV. They demanded cable stations add MTV because they needed to see those videos. People needed the first few iPhones, and they lined up around the block to get into the Apple stores. We don't have that yet with VR. We need to have great content before we're going to have any big adoption of it. But these are my personal feelings. But without a doubt, when it comes, it's going to be awesome.
How many of you do VR gaming? Anyone do VR gaming? A little bit? Not that many people. All right, I feel like VR gaming has sort of gotten there for some people.
It's much closer in the gaming space, but trust me, when we get it right for music, again, it was like, there'd been videos for a long time. You can go back to the 60s and see music videos. But in the early 80s, for the younger people, I'll explain what videos were in the beginning of the 80s. They were literal. So if it said I picked something up in the lyrics, the singer would pick it up. It was literally act out the lyrics. And then people started making super cool videos, you know, everything from INXS to Peter Gabriel to Michael Jackson and Madonna. And that's when the explosion started. Not when the first video started, but when the content got awesome. Content for music in VR? Kind of shit. Unless somebody's seen something great.
Yeah, I want to hear what you've seen because I don't want it to all sound pessimistic.
There's a few rhythm games starting to come into the VR space. There's one called Beat Saber. There's another one called Synth Riders.
We know Beat Saber is really cool.
There's, you know, Monster Cat is a huge EDM label from Canada. They just did like a 10-song pack in the game. They're monetizing it. Really interactive. A lot of people posting videos of themselves playing in VR.
Has anyone seen any of those? Beat Saber? That's kind of cool. It's kind of like Rock Band with a lightsaber. So you just, that's right. That's as close as I can explain it. It's cool. It makes you want to go back and do it over and over and over. All the way in the back.
Hi. Just a couple of things on this. So there was a fitness panel yesterday, music and fitness. And personally, one of the best VR I've tried has actually been a boxing one. And, you know, music and fitness and VR, I can kind of see those three going really well together.
So it sounds like, that the fitness experience, the gaming experience, music is more of a background actor, right? It's a side player. But have we seen anything where music is front and center?
I was
Yeah,
just gonna
Beat
add
Saber.
that what this
But it's a
gentleman
game.
was saying,
But it's a game.
Right.
Yeah, you're scoring points.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not pessimistic. I'm actually super optimistic. I think space is going to explode. I just not so good on the timelines. I can't tell you, is it going to be by the end of this year or is it going to take 10 years? But when it goes, it's going to be awesome.
so, sorry, I just want to add one quick thing. There have been a rise in virtual festivals. He kind of alluded to it, but these video games online have music festivals actually in the virtual world. And I've been seeing a lot more of those. So just something I wanted to...
Cool. I just want to move to the next one. So mixed reality. How many are familiar with MR, or mixed reality? Right, so mixed reality, and I can't do the best job of explaining it because I'm not in the mixed reality space, but what I understand it to be is more of a spectrum between kind of the real environment and a virtual environment, in which augmented reality is included, but there's also augmented virtuality and this idea of not only projecting into your real environment some virtual image or experience, but also using technology potentially to engage in the virtual environment simultaneously. So I think that's pretty interesting. Is there any mixed reality experiences that you've participated in or heard about that resonates?
I know you asked them, but
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
right next to you. So yeah, I think that was a pretty good explanation. You know, it's taking virtual world, real world, combining it, and you have a new environment. So I got to demo something in Bulgaria last summer. Have you ever, you know the car maker from Sweden, Saab? Did you know they make fighter jets? I didn't. I had no clue.
I didn't know.
But in Europe, they make the fighter jets. And so they had a really interesting MR experience because, remember, Saab's Swedish, much like that other assembly company, IKEA. And putting together a fighter jet is much like putting together IKEA furniture. Like you're getting all these parts and you have this instruction manual, and the people, it's really hard. So they put on these MR glasses, and you can see the piece hovering in midair, a virtual piece, and it turns it, and it goes, slots in. Then you pick up the real piece and go, I see how it fits in there. And so it's like building a piece of IKEA furniture in a mixed reality environment. Super cool. Not sure yet how it'll play out in music. You now have HoloLens 2, which is Microsoft's MR product that they're just launching now. It's mostly around business, but we'll see who's going to be clever enough to adapt it for music.
Well, even in this example that I found, you see that it looks like he's learning piano from a virtual teacher, right? So I think that's a pretty interesting experience. AI. So there's tons of AI stuff happening right now. So artificial intelligence, we see it right now a lot in music creation. Are any of you working on any music creation, or have you used AI to supplement or improve your music productions or creation? The poll at the beginning said there's a lot of music creators in here, so I want to hear specifically from music creators about your experience with AI or your choice not to use AI and why you're choosing not to use AI. There's a hand back there.
Hey, so I mean, there's like very different levels of AI. So I mean, I've used like narrow artificial intelligence for stuff like, you know, helping with mixing processes and like mastering for when I'm, you know, exporting a project out of, you know, some DAW or something. So I mean, there's always that.
I think one of the most interesting parts of AI is it's going to create a new space in the music industry. We actually have somebody in the second row from Artophone. And maybe you want to explain it, but I'll set it up for you. And they are super cool. And the idea is there are some people that make music professionally. You're probably in this room. But almost everyone else is blocked out of music creation. Because in order to create music, you have to spend 10 years getting punished as a child to learn to play an instrument. You know, first let's learn the scales and and once you've done that, it's like, fine, after they beat the life force out of you, you want to create something? No wonder there's mental health issues, drugs, alcohol, because you fucking killed their spirit. Sorry. But I believe that AI will allow anyone without any training to be able to create. The same way that Instagram allowed anyone to be a photographer and express themselves through photo without knowing what an f-stop is, without knowing how to develop film. Just take pictures, swipe on some filters, that looks cool, recenter, post a message, and it's done. Which has actually made a whole generation of people go, maybe I actually want to learn photography and go deeper. And starting in the middle, and then they'll go back. But we teach people music from the beginning, and then they drop off, and you just see who the survivors are at the end. So now you can imagine recreational musicians, recreational creators because AI assists them so they can just instantly start creating, again, with no ambition to be a famous musician. Like, there's recreational skiers that spend a lot of money on skiing. They don't think they're going to be in the Olympics, or cyclists that don't think they're going to be in the Tour de France, but they enjoy it. Now people will be able to enjoy and express themselves in music. And then you have to explain. Wait, you get a microphone so they can hear.
Thank you. So the level that AI can help someone become a recreational creator, do you ever see that building all by itself?
What do you mean building?
Just like that AI will become intelligent enough just to put a track together.
But it's doing that already.
It already does that.
Right,
And
so
you've heard it whether you know it or not. You've heard TV commercials and online commercials and played video games, then you've heard AI created
This company
music.
in particular, Amper, that's exactly what they do. You are a content creator. Let's say you have a short form video or a commercial. You go to Amper and it creates a composition for you that you can use in these these micro sync.
So thinking forward now, do you see this as a competition element to the...
And that's something that I like to discuss. Is there's an excitement around AI in terms of creation and the technology, but how does this set up artists and composers, right? There's a company called AVL, I might be pronouncing it wrong, which was the first AI to sign with SACIM as a composer. And the question around that is author rights and copyrights. Like, how can the AI be recognized as the writer of the composition and therefore entitled to performance royalties from SACIM? Even another AI platform, Endo. Even you guys signed at Warner an AI company that's putting out 20 albums. Now, the music is a particular category. I believe it's more ambient or background or music like that. But the question is, if I'm a composer who makes ambient music, can I ever compete with a software that can put out 20 albums in a matter of a year, right? So that's, and it may be an example of saying, well, it's kind of just ambient or just kind of, noise music, but what happens when it becomes pop music or becomes score and it starts putting pressure on traditional creators? He mentioned that he leverages AI as a part of his creative process in some small piece, and I think that's the argument a lot of AI creators are saying, is that this should be a part of your process. It should not replace your process or will not replace you, but some people are on the other side of that discussion.
Yeah, so I think it's all about...
Stand up.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Mike from Artifon. We make smart musical instruments, and we're looking a lot at AI right now because it's all about the intention of the human. I mean, computers are going to do whatever they do. They're going to make millions or billions of songs. We might care or not. Us caring and us wanting to be a part of the music is kind of the point. So whether you just use it for mastering at the initial creation or sort of the context for why you would be creative today at all, I think it's there to help us. It's not, AI is going to take over the world in general, but for music, I think it's going to be a companion because we're still in control.
Do you want to play something?
Oh, I could. Maybe.
Yeah.
Give me a minute.
We'll come back to you while you get started up.
Oh, he's got to set it
Quick
up.
poll. So we'll take a poll while he's getting set up. Launch your phones again. Meet.ps/musicbiz 2019. So go to your phones. And we actually launched a poll. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
We're doing a lot up here. Okay. The question is, should AI systems own copyrights? So meet.ps, and let's see what the audience thinks.
Here, I'll do the background music.
Okay.
No. Oh,
Wait.
yeah. We don't like AI owning the copyrights. So should an AI system, I feel like I'm talking over. So should AI be able to have copyrights, be able to do reversion rights with publishers, be able to receive and issue takedowns of its own content? Should AI be able to compete in the copyright market space?
See, it's interesting. Who's not a musician in the room? Go grab that thing and see what it's like. Because he actually is a musician, so it's not fair. He's going blah, 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 blah. You pick it up and just see how awesome it is.
Have you played piano?
No.
Okay, so these are like the white keys on a piano. Here, I'll hold it for you. Just. And then here you can.
Give her a little rock guitar.
Yeah, just hold them in. So this is just an arpeggiator built into
What's
the
interesting
instrument.
is she didn't hit a bad note.
Exactly.
Did you notice that? You would have heard it if she hit a bad note. It won't allow her to hit a bad note. So you can play anything and it'll sound right.
Again, it's the intention. You put the guardrails on. You choose what you want to do today, and then you're creating rather than the bar being set way up
It's
here.
like bowling for the little kids when they put the guardrails up and they can never have a gutter ball.
So I have a
what this
question for any of you who said, yes, AI should own copyright, and then I want to hear from someone who responded, no, AI shouldn't own copyright. I want to hear your why. So if anyone's willing to put themselves on blast, there's no lawyers here. Remember we did that poll earlier.
I know, that was amazing. Unless one slipped
Unless
in.
they're in and they're not telling us, but that's a lie like a lawyer.
I didn't want to just start talking.
Are you yes or no?
I'm a yes, girl. Wow, this is really loud. I just personally think that yes, we should, just because we're striving so hard to give people their rights to their copyrights and stuff, and I feel like we kind of would be going against what we've been shooting for. Yeah, it's a system, but at the same point, there was still, what words am I looking for? There's still people behind these systems, like creating these systems and creating the music and the stuff, so I don't know, I just feel like we'd be going backwards if we were to take away the copyrights.
Who's a no?
Oh, right.
Wait, here's a new no. Wait. Get a microphone on.
Well, at least for now, there's human intervention and someone behind the AI and someone keeping the plug in and coding the algorithms and feeding the data that trains it. So there should be some way of copyright trickling to all those contributors, not just the AI getting the copyright.
Oh, you answered it differently than I thought.
Well, I mean, I'm on that same level. My argument is a lot of AR systems are using source material to learn its skill. And when it puts out content, especially in the particular, for example, Tune Registry, we help register works in different splits. And when someone uses a sample of someone else's music, or if they use an arrangement or rearrange their music, I have to register it that way with the PRO.
But what if we play I'll just play devil's advocate. But
wait,
okay.
There's more.
There's more, but don't order yet.
But when an AI system, the one in particular I'm thinking of, uses 2,000 different copyrights to learn its skill and then puts out its original music and receives 100% ownership of its writer and publisher share, SSM, that's my argument, is how is that possible and why is that possible?
But what if you had a piano teacher teaches you all these songs and you learned, or you bought a whole bunch of albums and learned to play guitar, and only because of that's what you absorbed, you now write a new composition in that style. That's how humans do it. They're not blank slates. Well, what makes you think they're not? But okay. I'm a pro machine guy, just so you know.
Well, as it applies to AI, and I know I probably know too little to for full disclosure, but my understanding is AI is a process. It's not an entity that can own. So if AI is a methodology to create an intellectual copyright, it doesn't mean it's something that can own it. And if that were the argument, how would you control it for it encroaching vis-a-vis infringement, creating something that is an infringement that it has learned from something else? If it learns the etymology, every Beatles song, and recreates an alternate universe of Beatles songs, who is the entity that is sued? So maybe I need clarification of the
No,
premise of AI actually owning versus creating.
You're spot on, actually. So in America, under the current laws, it would be a process which is not, you can't patent it, you can't copyright it. In Europe, it might be different, but if big organizations start to deploy AI music, trust me, they'll just have the law changed.
All right, I want to continue on here. It's only 5 minutes. So machine learning, which is a part of the process of AI, obviously, but machine learning, is being used a lot by every digital service in regards to recommendations, smart recommendations, in regards to categorizing content. I don't have much to say about this really, because I think machine learning is a part of AI processes or other processes.
I think it's so much so that we've now come to a world where we expect it. When you Google something, the search results you get are different than when somebody else Googles something, the same thing, because now there's an expectation that you understand what I mean. You've learned. And I think this is going to happen. It already happens in music recommendation. That's AI, and if you skip something you don't like it very quickly learns, all right, don't put that in front of him again. He doesn't like that. And if they keep putting the same thing in front of me, I'd actually feel quite, I don't know, like it's not working. There's an expectation of machine learning embedded in our technology.
Yeah, and I think our palette for its experience has gotten more refined. Like I said, we expect that if I put in a auto-generated radio experience, that it's going to provide a good experience for me. Blockchain. So.
Fuck, we left no time for the most important thing.
Yeah, we have 2 more things. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this. There's no Q&A at the end because we engaged you throughout. So blockchain. So blockchain media is just one example of a project around blockchain. But there's a lot of different blockchain-based solutions being built in the music industry around streaming, around rights management, around royalty systems. Anything you've seen recently in the blockchain space that interests you, or you feel that it's overreaching or anything? Oh, perfect, right there.
Hello, my name is Richard. I'm from Dot Blockchain Media, so that slide looks really, really good.
Did you clear this with them?
I'll see the invoice later.
Yeah, if you could just send us a check, that'd be great. We...
I'm promoting you.
Yeah, no, it's very good, thank you.
You guys should get a check.
We differ from a lot of our contemporaries, I suppose, in the blockchain space, or the hype space as it was. We're actually building with partners now, so we've just completed a project with a large major, and now we're moving on to work with a major distributor, DSP, and a PRO. And so
since we have you, can you tell us what Dot Blockchain Music is?
So Dot Blockchain is a company that we use the blockchain technology in a small part of what we're doing to actually connect the audio and the rights so that you attribute correctly the right owner to the audio. As we probably all know, there's large buckets of cash in black boxes out there that should be attributed to the right owner. And with our technology, hopefully that will be fixed.
Why do you think blockchain is a better solution than current solutions?
Good question. I think you can build a lot of this out with traditional databases, but I think as we call it, the clerk of the court, the blockchain is actually the sort of independent view that says, you said this and you said that, but at this point we stamp this onto the chain and it cannot be deleted, so therefore that is the truth. And it's throughout the business, the music business, we're trying to source the truth, and this is why you have large legal teams on every different company to try and solve that.
I'm worried we're jumping in the center of blockchain, and a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things is there are no blockchain experts, so if anyone feels like a little behind on it, you're not. You're right on, right where you need to be, because it's 1 minute, because it's evolving. But what you want to think about the blockchain is not what it is, but how it will be. Maybe go to the next. Yeah. So think about blockchain as a protocol Me or you? Think of it as a protocol, and a protocol, another word for that is a language. So if I speak English and you spoke German and you spoke Dutch and you spoke Portuguese and you spoke Spanish, we couldn't communicate. So we create protocols. So imagine you have the internet, which didn't have protocols. So universities used it, governments, military. The World Wide Web launches on top. That's protocols so that every website could talk to every other website and they could talk to clients. So HTTP, the P is protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. Now blockchain is putting a new protocol layer or multiple protocols so that without having businesses, technology can speak to each other. And that's where we get into the things like cryptocurrencies, where it says we don't need a bank. If you know, do you know Bitcoin? So Bitcoin, there's no company called Bitcoin. There's no owner of it, there's nothing. It's a protocol so that people can transfer money back and forth. So you could imagine protocols for people to do social media. Why do I need a company to share my photos of my lunch? I just need technology to share it with my friends and follow celebrities and their lunch. And maybe music. Why do we need a platform with all the music on it? Don't we just need some technology to launch to connect everybody? This is where
we're going to end it with one last poll. And we didn't dive into cryptocurrency, but as you're doing the poll, there's a number of startups trying to build not only cryptocurrency, there's what the real movement I'm seeing a lot of is tokenization. So I have a lot of startup clients who are building their own tokens and building marketplaces and ecosystems within their own environments that I think is a very interesting way to incentivize end users as well as to transact between creators and their consumers on these platforms.
Hurry, hurry.
All right, so
she's getting
I know,
pissed
I just
off.
want to see the results.
She's smiling, but I know she's pissed. Like, I'm a volunteer. I'm just here to do my fucking job. I don't want to get yelled at.
All right, when will the music industry be powered by blockchain?
Super optimistic. Love it. 5 years.
Never. These never probably said no to the copyright for AI too. Same people. No blockchain, no AI.
Doesn't it take a profit component out, or am I missing it?
Doesn't it take a what?
The profit component out?
No. I mean, think about, who do you pay for the web? Nobody. It was launched for everyone. It was launched for everyone, and then people built businesses on it. So, and all other businesses were wiped off the table, but whole new businesses, Facebook, Spotify, Google, all these were built in a web era. They had no former component, but now they exist. They could get wiped off the table, and a whole new set of companies built on top of the blockchain, but not the blockchain. That's like the web. You don't pay for the web.
Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate the discussion.